Welcome to Personality Speaking, where the tea is always hot. My show is dedicated to helping you build healthier, stronger relationships through the understanding of the personalities. This show airs every Wednesday at 7 p.m. and it's live. In case you don't know me, my name is Karen Ward. I'm an advanced certified personality trainer. I'm a speaker. I'm the author of the book Coupled for Life: Overcoming Personality Differences in Marriage, and I'm a personality coach. This show focuses on the four personalities developed by the late Florence Littauer. This There are four personality styles that we're going to look at, and that is the popular sanguine, and that's your fun-loving, happy-go-lucky, charming personality style. That's also forgetful and flighty, and just quick to anger. And then you have your powerful choleric, and that's a born leader, a mover, and a shaker. It's the personality that gets more things done in the morning than most of us get done all week. But they're also bossy and controlling. Then you have the perfect melancholy. And the perfect melancholy is a deep thinker and compassionate and highly intelligent, but they're also very moody and they're critical and judgmental. Then you have the fourth and final personality style, and that is the peaceful phlegmatic. The peaceful phlegmatic is cool, calm, collected, chill, but they're also uninterested, uninvolved, and just a little bit on the moody side. And on top of that, they're also the kind of personality that will say smart stuff out their mouths and won't even smile. So those are your four personality styles. If you want to learn more about the personalities, you can go to my website, Beyond 2 LLC, see Beyond 2, and that's beyond2llc.com. All right. Now, tonight's guests are going to join me, and we're going to talk about soulful connections, exploring personalities, and the power of forgiveness. Now, I know my audience is going to want to know about forgiveness because everybody's talking about forgiveness and unforgiveness and how it's been impacting their lives. So, we're going to talk about that tonight. But before we do that, I want to introduce my guests. First, I have Alicia Dalton, who I met through a divine connection. Alicia is a behavioral health care executive, author, and speaker with 20 years of experience. She advocates for quality health care services for the underserved communities. Alicia enjoys cooking, baking, so do I, girl, and sharing her love of coffee. Now, I don't even like coffee. I like the taste of coffee. I don't like the aftertaste of coffee. So we'll talk a little bit about that. She also is featured in the Christian documentary Women of Faith Coping with Trauma, where she discusses overcoming challenges through faith. Welcome, Alicia.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And then we have Sharon J. Lawrence. Mrs. Lawrence is the founder of Selah Wellness and Therapeutic LLC and the CEO of SJL Professional Services Incorporated. With licenses in multiple states, she is a therapist for therapists, professionals, and couples, focusing on improving their lives and relationships. Mrs. Lawrence is an experienced licensed clinical social worker, a best selling author, and an international speaker and trainer. She offers counseling using various approaches, including cognitive behavior therapy, solution focused therapy, and EMDR. Her passion for helping others extend to her adjunct professor roles at Bowie State University. Hey, I've spoken at Bowie State and Prince George's Community College, preparing the next generation of helping our professionals. Welcome, Sharon, to Personality Speaking.
Thank you for having me, Karen.
I'm so glad you guys got to join me, especially on a topic like forgiveness. That's a big deal, right? There's so many people who struggle with forgiveness. But before we get into that, I want to know a little bit about your personal stuff. Like, are you guys married? Do you have children? Let's start with you, Alicia.
Yes, yes. So I am married to my best friend, my boo thing. I think he's kind of cute. And I have three beautiful, wonderful children.
How long you been married?
We got married in 2008. I have a
Okay.
son that's 32, a daughter that's 15, and another daughter that's 12.
Okay. You
And
got
I'm having a sweet 16 party this year, and I'm a little
about to blow
nervous.
your whole mind. Well, girl, I have to do your 316 sign. You know, I do crafting. I do signs and stuff
Oh,
like that. Yeah,
wow.
yeah, all kinds of stuff. But anyway, that's off the topic. I just wanted to ask you another question though. Do you know your personality styles at all?
Oh my gosh. When I sat in your class, I'm like a little bit of all of them.
Okay, so
I'm such a
normally,
mix.
normally when people say I'm a little bit of all of them, it's because they are a phlegmatic and they're indecisive. And sometimes it's because of some trauma that you may have had in your lifetime that makes you lean towards one versus the other. But maybe through these conversations, you'll pick up really what your personality styles are.
I've been trying
Yeah.
to, so maybe this will be helpful.
Okay. All right, Sharon, tell us a little bit about your family life. You're frozen, Sharon. Oh, what
Such a
is
nice
going
smile.
on?
Frozen
Okay.
with
At
this.
least if you're going to freeze, you freeze beautifully.
Yes.
I'm going to remove you and let you pop back in. Oh, there you go.
You were
Sharon,
frozen.
Yes, I'm here.
you were
Okay.
frozen. All
Okay,
right.
y'all were too. I guess everybody. I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, yeah. But we were talking to each other, so I don't know what's
Oh,
happening, but it's okay. Just go ahead and give us a little bit about your personal life.
I am married to my husband of 9 years. I was engaged for 2 hours. I always tell everyone that he had to plan the wedding because I did not want one. Alicia was actually there. I had her come when I met my husband for the first date. So she was the person to take a picture of the driver's license and the license plate on the car, just in case I went missing.
I
But
know that's right.
clearly, we remain connected, and I threw away my receipt. I'm keeping him. I am a bonus mom to two. I have a 32-year-old bonus daughter and a 12-year-old bonus son, and a 12-year-old granddaughter, and one on the way.
Oh,
I
nice.
can't
I
believe
love it.
he's
I
12
love it.
already. I do want to say that the moment I met him, I told Sharon he was the one. So,
Wow. So
yeah.
I guess you were right about that one, huh? So let me ask you, do you know your personality styles?
I do. I 100% I'm melancholy.
Okay, melancholy. All right. Do you know your secondary? Do you have any idea?
Mhm.
What is it? Your
Say
secondary.
it again.
Do you know your secondary?
I don't. I don't. I don't.
Oh, okay. That's okay. You might figure that out while you're here. So I've been married 29 years
It's
because
been a
I know
long
Alicia.
time. Yeah, it's been a long time.
I knew Alicia. I met Alicia. It was a few years ago when you did the COVID connections, right? It was what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, but even before that, I sat in your personality class through the homemakers.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Okay.
That's why I said I thought I was all four.
Did you tell me that in the class?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was scratching my head. I felt like I can pick my husband out, but then I was like, I just don't know. I fit in all of them. So I can't wait for this conversation. Maybe I'll get
Well,
a
you come
more.
off as very bubbly, so you seem like you might be a sanguine personality like me. So I'm a sanguine choleric. I've been married to my husband for 29 years. He's a choleric sanguine, so we have both the extroverted personality styles.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
we have three children. My oldest is my bonus son, and he will be 40 tomorrow.
Wow.
And my youngest turned 30 on the 4th of July. And my middle, she will be 39 in September. So we have all grown ones. And then I have three grandchildren, 15, 14, and 7, all girls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and all we have all the personality styles in our little small nucleus. My oldest son is choleric sanguine. My oldest daughter is melancholy choleric. And our youngest is phlegmatic sanguine. So we have all of the personality,
Wow.
which makes for very interesting times and conversations. All right, so let's get started because I want you guys to kind of share with me what was the inspiration from your book. Your book was The Let Go, Elevate Your Destiny and Forgive. So I want to know what really possessed you guys to even want to write a book about forgiveness And what why did you come together to do that?
Mhm.
I'm gonna
I
let
can
Sharon
answer
go.
that. Yeah. Well, Alicia and I, we have history of working together for many years, and so the inspiration I just came, it came from years of healing, from just multiple offenses and traumatic events and things that we had shared. And so initially, I knew that I was going to write something, and it was initially going to be a solo project, but I realized we're talking so much about some of the same stuff. I was like, Alicia, you gotta share. And when I finally got her to give in, I had to like beg her. I'm
Right.
exaggerating just a little bit. But we realized in that moment, she laughs when I say this, but I was driving down 214, driving past the Long John Silver when I remember saying, okay, let's do the let go based on what we were saying in that conversation. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. It really is about how we were able to identify how forgiveness was ruling in our lives, and
Oh,
not about what the other parties were choosing to do as we were moving forward in peace. And so by getting to that place, we knew we were ready to share.
yeah, but how do you get to that place? And the reason why I asked that question is because um, I have had multiple people come through here and comment whenever the topic of forgiveness comes up, right? And one of my favorite quotes that I heard a long time ago is unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die.
Yeah.
It's like it's killing you, it's not killing the other person. But people seem to think that if they forgive, that means I'm letting you off the hook
Yeah.
and you can continue to hurt me or you can continue to be in my life or whatever it is. And I'm a believer. So I believe in forgiveness, but I also know how hard forgiveness is based on the atrocity. So how did you get to a place where you could even write a book that's focused on you and your deliverance versus pointing a finger at the people who hurt you?
I think it was.
For me, I always knew that I would be giving my testimony, but I always thought it would be, testimony Tuesday at church at on the pulpit. Just,
Right.
that's what I thought. And then I was asked to participate in the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, Lord, I see. This is, you don't want it just to be a one time, occurrence where you go to church and you give a testimony. So it was the documentary that kind of catapulted my openness to do it. And then Sharon and her being insistent about participating in the book project. But that's how it came for me. I just already knew that I was called to do it. I just never thought it would be, the medium would be a book. I never
Okay,
thought.
so you guys did a documentary before the book?
I was personally in a documentary prior to
That's
that.
different. That's different.
It's a different project. Yeah.
Oh, but that project was talking about forgiveness,
It didn't talk about forgiveness per se, but it was about
trauma.
how, as a Christian woman, you move through traumatic events.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha. And part of the way you move through is to forgive, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think for me, okay, so my show is called Personality Speaking for a reason because I am a personality expert, and so I look at the personalities and how it relates to each of to your life in all facets, right? So one of the things that I look at is a sanguine typically will forgive quickly because they want to live a life that's full of fun and happiness and joy, right?
Mhm.
They don't want to be down and bitter and angry because that's not how they're wired. So they're wired to have fun. That's their basic desires to have fun. The choleric, and these are my two extroverted personality styles, which means you get your energy from other people, right? So the choleric is typically not very forgiving. They will hold on to stuff for a very long time and they will be the ones to get you. But they want you to know that they got you, right?
Mhm.
You did something to me, I'm gonna pay you back, and you're gonna know, everybody gonna know I paid you back. So that's the choleric. The introverted personality styles, the melancholy, which the introverts means you get your energy from within. The melancholy personality style holds on to past hurts for a lifetime. Like they hold on and can't let go and they don't forget anything. And you know how some people say, well, I can forgive, but I can't forget. They won't forget and they really don't forgive either.
Mm.
It really has to take an act of God for them to be able to move on. And then the phlegmatic um, will act as if they forgave you because they don't want the conflict with you, and but they'll hold on to it as well, because it makes them feel devalued, and they hold on to those negative thoughts and feelings.
Mhm.
So knowing that about all the personalities, I recognize that we all see forgiveness differently,
Mhm.
and how we move through it. So I want, if you are able to talk about an instance when you had some unforgiveness and how you were able to work through, can you do that? Either one.
For me, I think I was going through the journey of forgiveness, but not really recognizing what it was. I
Oh,
just knew that things that happened to me in the past, I didn't want it to define me.
right.
And I was beginning to realize my worth. And I, like you said, you want to be a happy person. So I don't like to be in a space where I'm down. So for me, honestly, forgiveness made me happy.
Yeah.
It gave me joy because I was free. It was forgiveness is very freeing. Once you do it, it's like, oh, okay, And I always say it just if you have unforgiveness in your heart, it really you can't get to your destiny. You can't be what God called you to be. And I
Definitely.
knew God called me to be a wife and God called me to be a mom. And if I don't want to leave a poor legacy of bitterness, anger, I want my kids to see me show up happy. Of course, it's not like that all the time, but I just didn't want to leave a legacy of bitterness and anger. So I just gradually got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let this go. And you'll like this because in the documentary that I was in, there was a quote, and it says, "When you are happy, be some kind of happy." And guess who said that?
Who?
Dr. Celeste Owens.
Oh, my sister.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought her up today. Because yesterday was her birthday, and I was so emotional all week. And
Yeah.
when I do this show, I do it in honor of her because she was the first person that told me I was an expert in the personalities and that I needed to operate like I was an expert in the personalities.
Mm.
She
Hmm.
always promoted me on her platforms and encouraged me to do my thing. And when I told her I was going to start personality speaking back up because I had it as a radio show, she said, "Yeah, definitely. You're a great moderator. You're a great, interviewer." And but it was because of her that I know. I was telling her mom this yesterday that so much of my relationship with her and her family is what propelled me to do the work God has called me to do. So
Yeah.
I don't want to
She
get too
had she
emotional
made
with
that
that.
kind of impact. Yeah,
Yeah,
she had that kind of impact. So I
yeah,
can understand that.
she definitely did.
Yeah.
All right, Sharon, do you want to share?
I think for me, it's just been the journey. When you realize, I think for me, realizing that holding on to it wasn't benefiting me,
Hmm.
um, and that I had to accept that people's behaviors are part of who they are at times. And so when I recognized that that was not going to change and me talking about it was not going to change, if I wanted to be free, not only did I have to stop talking about certain things a certain way, but I
Hmm.
also needed to be okay with the boundaries I put in place to protect my well-being. And
Yeah.
so when I started establishing a line for myself in terms of what I allowed into my space during that time, especially as a single person,
Mhm.
because you're living with your thoughts, especially if
Right.
you're an introvert, so
Right.
I had to be mindful of that. But I realized the minute that somebody said, "Oh, have you talked to?" or "Oh, have you heard?" and my reaction was different, forgiveness took place before I even realized it had
Hmm.
taken.
It does. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
That's
so it's like,
amazing.
yeah, I look up and I didn't have the same reaction. Nothing was kind of raising up. Nothing sat on my chest. That tightness you feel, none of it was there. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah, I'm good. I'm
Right.
good.
Right. Yeah, it's so interesting because, as I said, I'm a sanguine, right? And so we want to live happy lives. And recently, I had a neighbor that accused me of something. She never told me what it was, but that I was not a good neighbor, that she knows what I did. I think I'm clever, but I'm really not. And she said all these things. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I have done nothing to her or anybody else in my community. So I didn't really understand the whole thing. And so I remember, she got really, really mean. And I said, okay, well, since I'm not a nice neighbor, I'm blocking you. So I blocked her. But every time I would pull into my house, I would feel that, what you're talking about, that rising up, Sharon, that you feel in your gut, you feel sick to your stomach, or you feel irritated, or, like you want to lash out. And I started noticing months ago that I just don't feel that anymore. Like I don't feel anything at all. And I have forgiven her because first of all, I know I hadn't done anything wrong. So what am I mad for?
Mhm.
But as you know, I don't care what you do in your life, somebody's going to accuse you of something or going to think something of you or say something about you. They did it to Jesus. Why wouldn't they do it to us?
Mhm.
What makes us think we're better than that, right? So I'm glad that you brought that up because it is a freedom from that. Like I don't feel any type of way when I come in when I was really feeling those feelings. How dare you think something of me that I didn't do, and what are you talking about? And trying to figure out in my head what it was and what, girl,
Mhm.
give and move on. Like you say, let go, let go.
Yeah.
All right,
It's just
so
important not to let anything, take up space, you know. And if you're able to let it go, I think that's what you did. You're free from it.
yeah.
Hmm.
So in your book, you talk about transformative power of forgiveness, right? Could you elaborate a little bit more about how forgiveness can impact our well-being or our personal growth?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned a little bit before, but unforgiveness can prevent you from reaching your true potential, and your purpose and your destiny. But when you make the decision not to forgive, you take it on physically,
Yeah,
your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health. And you just have those undue burdens that that forgiveness will kind of release you from.
right.
But I was also thinking about, I mentioned that, those burdens can bring anger, depression, resentment. But there's also countless studies about what unforgiveness can do to you. You mentioned about the poison. But there's a doctor named Stephen Stanifer. He's chief of surgery at the Cancer Center of America, and he does forgiveness therapy for cancer patients because he
Wow.
says that if you don't forgive, you're going to stay sick. And so he incorporates forgiveness therapy to help treat different diseases, including cancer. And when I read that years ago, it blew me away.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I remember seeing a movie a long time ago. I think it was called Philadelphia with Tom Hanks in it. And he was sick. He was going to see an acupuncturist. He had cancer. And he was going to see an acupuncturist. And the acupuncturist was telling him that the cancer was from unforgiveness, right? And that cancer was being fed by that unforgiveness. And he had to really dig deep and
Mm.
forgive. And that always struck me too, because I'm thinking, I remember when I was going through, this is my second marriage, when I was going through my divorce in my first marriage, I didn't want a divorce. I didn't want to divorce at all. And I was very resentful and very hurt and wounded. And I remember reading an article that said, when you go through any major life event, within 2 years, you normally have some kind of physical ailment.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
2 years later, I had a hiatal hernia,
Mhm.
because of the angst and anxiety and the stress of the divorce. And so,
Mhm.
and I know I held on a lot of anger and bitterness and whatever, for a long time, because I never wanted the divorce in the first place. And so I can see how that can have a physiological response to
Mhm.
not forgiving. Sharon,
Mhm.
did you want to share on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk has a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and he talks about a lot of the traumatic events that people go through. And I mean, if you even if you want to tap into adverse childhood experiences, things that happen to people before the age of 18, when you have unresolved trauma and stress, at some point is going to impact you physically. It
Yeah.
has to go somewhere. And where does it stay? In your body. So
Mm-hmm.
when you have unexplained reasons, or it's a reason, but the doctors will say, we can't find out why you have fibromyalgia. We can't figure out why you have these digestive issues or why you're getting these migraines. And most of the time, it's as a result of trauma that has not been addressed. And so you have to look at the impact it has on the emotional, the spiritual, and the physical well being, which we know is completely overwhelming for people and it's debilitating. They even
Yeah.
talk about the level of depression, how it can feel like there's, hundreds of pounds weighing on you. So it literally can take you out if you do not address it.
Okay. So, can you all share any kind of personal anecdotes or stories, personal or from any of the people that you've encountered, maybe while you were writing the book, about forgiveness or unforgiveness?
I think for me, the biggest antidote is that you have to realize that forgiveness is truly about you. It's for you. And it can be a painful process, but it's one that's worth it,
Hmm.
and one that you should truly commit to. I think some people look at unforgiveness as a badge of honor. Like you said, it's like they want you to know that you're mad at them. And it's like, but you're hurting yourself in the process. And it's like, let that badge go.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so if you truly want to be able to walk in true deliverance, do it. Walk through the process. I always tell people, trust the process, embrace the journey. Do
Hmm.
what you have to do to take care of you. I can remember a friend of mine had did something really, really bothersome, and I won't go into the details, but I remember being so upset with her, and eventually, I guess I let it go. And I remember seeing them out in public, and I remember hugging them and saying, "How are you?" And when I got like, I guess what 20 steps away, I was like, "Wait, I'm supposed to be mad." Like I wasn't mad. And I realized, so I think, you tell yourself, okay, I did this, I'm doing this work, and didn't even know I was doing it. But it's something about when you really put yourself to the test to not hold
Yeah.
on to it. And it does something for your character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You wanted to say something, Sharon? I mean, Alicia.
No, I kind of touched on it before. Just the act of forgiveness itself, whether you realize you're going through the journey or not, it's very freeing.
Yeah.
And I really think it's a form of self love
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about that. Why do you think it's a form of self love?
because, you want to ultimately walk and live in your purpose, but you want to do it in a peaceful, graceful manner.
Mhm.
And if you don't forgive,
Mhm.
you just are stuck and you have those burdens. And again, those weights that Sharon talked about, and the anger and the bitterness and all that. So if you choose to forgive, and forgiveness is a verb, it's an action, you do it,
Right.
you choose to do that and act it out and be willing to do so. I think that's you showing up for yourself, that's self-love.
It's interesting because I know a person who was a choleric melancholy, and she said to me, "Yeah, I don't know that I understand that whole Christian thing about forgiveness. Like I don't think everybody deserves forgiveness, right?"
Mm,
And I thought that was an interesting thing to say. I don't know that people out here doing stuff to babies, or people out here doing stuff to women, or people out here, you know, um, trying to kill spouses and whatever else. Do they actually deserve to be forgiven? And I
mm,
thought that was it was very interesting because, as I said to the person, as you said, Alicia, as you said, Sharon, forgiveness is for you.
mm-hmm.
It is not for the other person. It
Correct.
releases you from the bondage of holding on to the hurt and the pain and disappointment. Because
Yeah.
when we both talked about, all of us talked about the feeling that we get when you're unforgiving, that when
Mhm.
that person comes into a room, you feel that rising up. That's a physical reaction that you're having. That person may have forgotten all about you, about the situation. They hurt you, so they don't care nothing about how you feel. You know what I mean? They ain't thought
Yep.
about how you felt after they did it. They may not even know they hurt you in the first place. And you're walking around with all of this stuff boiling inside of you. And
Mm-hmm.
so who is really being hurt? You or
Mhm.
them?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
So
That's
I find that interesting, but I know that melancholies have a hard time forgiving because they can hold on to a hurt for such a long time. My grandfather, who I think was a melancholy, I didn't know him that well, but as I look back, he was probably a melancholy
Mhm.
personality style. And when he passed away, he left a will. And in the will, he had all of my father and all of his siblings in the will, and he wrote out each person and dated it when he wrote them out of the will until everybody was written out of the will except some
oh
friend of his, right?
wow.
And he wrote out his siblings, his own siblings,
Wow.
and said they teased him when he was young. And my grandfather died in his 70s, like 73 or 80
Mhm.
something. I don't know how old he was. But that's the kind of thing that you can carry for such
Mm.
a long time. If you choose not to forgive, you're writing people out of your will. Like what?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
talking about somebody who hurt you as a child, and then you
Yeah.
hurt your children and
Mhm.
your grandchildren because
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
can't let go. So see how that's generational?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I said the legacy we leave. What kind of legacy do you want to leave?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
want to encourage the melancholy people. I did it. Y'all could do it too. Don't
See?
hold, don't take this with you to your grave. Walk in peace. Try to tell you.
Now, you said that you also said that you recognized that you were forgiving before you even realized you were forgiving, right?
Mhm.
But were there any steps that you took to forgive? Did you, is it something you had to do to get you there? Because the melancholies need to know.
Yeah. Lots of prayer, extension of grace to myself, but also I think the biggest thing was being able to be okay with the fact, accepting that I was hurt or that I knew the truth behind things. I didn't have to prove my story to anyone anymore because I had worked so hard to say what my side was. And I realized no
Mm.
one's listening.
Right.
No one's listening. And some people like toxicity way more than they like truth.
Yeah.
And in those moments, I had to realize for my sanity, I was like, I'm going to do what I have to do. And I think me being able to separate myself from the repeat of the offense,
Come on now.
that's what was that's the work.
Yes.
That
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm not, the offense doesn't define me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so people are going to have their opinions about who they think I am or who they think I'm supposed to be when they have no idea who I am because they
Mhm.
haven't walked this journey with me. And so for me, I think it's just a matter of being honest with yourself on the journey. Am I
Yeah.
honest in all things? Like, have I been an angel? Absolutely not. I can take ownership for anything I've done, but I won't let anyone make me feel like I'm garbage or I'm
Yeah.
trash or I'm
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
Mhm.
after you have abused me. No.
I heard this, excuse me. I heard this speaker, I think it was Elisa Nicole. I'm not really sure, so I'm not going to say that. But said that what other people think about you is none of your business.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes.
So why are we worrying
Yes.
about what other people think of us? And so I'm glad you brought that up, Sharon, because the melancholies do care about what people think, and so do the phlegmatics.
Mm.
They really care about what people think about them. And their reputation means everything to them, right? And so if somebody says something to sully their reputation, it's like you're done. You're dead to them. So I'm glad you brought that up. Alicia, what about you? What kinds of things did you do to help you get to a place of being able to forgive?
You know, can I just give a shout out to the church mothers? I was at church one day and I had been dating this guy and he did some horrific things to me. We talk about it in the Let Go. I won't go into the details, but it was terrible. And he knew it, but he kept coming back. And everywhere I went, he would show up. I'm at the library, here he comes. I'm at the church, here he comes. I mean, he just kept begging me to come back to him. And I told the church mother about it. And she said, you can forgive, but you don't have to grace him with your presence anymore. And I
Bam.
was like, oh,
Bam.
how come I didn't think about that? And when she said that to me, I wish I knew her name because I would give her a
Shout
whole
her out.
shout out. But the Lord really used her today because I was torn. I'm like, I'm a Christian. I'm supposed to forgive.
Right.
I thought forgiving was just going back and going back and going. She said, you forgive and you move on and don't grace him with your beautiful presence anymore. And I
That's
thought,
right.
thank
That's,
you. So that was a very pivotal moment for me in my process.
I love that because and that is so true. That's even in my coaching practice. I tell people all the time that once you've forgiven, and forgiven means that you don't keep bringing it up and repeating it and feeling that angst about it. You really have surrendered it and let it go, right? But
Hmm.
once you've done that, that doesn't mean that if somebody's hurt you, that you have to continue to have them in your life. You don't have to.
Right.
And you
Yep.
can still forgive. You can say, I
Yep.
forgive you, but I don't need to have you every day or see you or talk to you. You may never talk to them because say some of the forgiveness could be some of the worst things that can happen to a person.
Yeah.
You can forgive that, but that doesn't mean that you want them calling you or
Right.
showing up on your doorstep or meeting you at church. No, thank
Yeah.
you.
I was very torn too because the person was a minister.
Ah,
So I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to forgive the reverend.
yeah, yeah. And you did.
What kind of person would I be if I don't forgive the reverend? So, but yeah,
Do you all think their personalities have any impact on the forgiveness? Because I know I spoke a little bit about that. But do you think it's any of your personality traits that may have an impact on whether you're able to forgive or how hard it is for you to forgive?
I definitely think it has something to do with it, but I don't know what personality type this would be, but I think of the person with the cold, stony heart. Like you got to do some heart work to be able to
Yeah,
forgive. And
yeah.
if you're cold, don't care about different outcomes, I think that's whatever that personality would be. That's a difficult, road to go down, even if it's entertained at all.
The choleric and the melancholy can be that way. The choleric has little need for friends. So they can cut you off and be done with you.
Wow.
You don't exist to them anymore, right? But they're
Okay.
also vengeful. So, like I said before, they'll get you back and they want you to know you got, right?
Hmm.
The melancholy what likes to plan getting you back. They like to execute getting you back, but they don't want you to know they got you. They feel good about knowing that they got you.
Now that's interesting. I don't experience that.
Well, you don't have every trait of a melancholy.
Yeah, I don't because
Right? So,
people often say, if say someone made something up, and I never forget somebody has said I did something, and my sister said to them, "No," she said, "You had me until you said my sister did this." Yeah, she ain't do that.
yeah,
She ain't do that. Mm-mm.
yeah,
Now I already know you reaching. Yeah.
and I'm glad you said that too because that's something I try to say in every segment is because you are a personality style. Because most of us have a primary and a secondary personality style, right? That doesn't mean you have every characteristic of that style, right? Strength or weakness.
Hmm.
So you will carry some, you won't carry. That's why when you do the assessment that I have on my website, once you finish the assessment, it'll tell you what your strengths are and your weaknesses are, and it'll tell you what your primary personality style is and your secondary. Now, you can also, when you were talking, Alicia, about, I think a little bit of all of them, the if you are operating in a bit of all of them, it also could be learned behavior. Like I'm a sanguine all day. I will talk your head straight off your shoulders. Okay. But I also will tell you what to do. So I'm a choleric, secondary. But if I had any melancholy, it's because my mother and my father both were melancholies. So I can
Okay.
learn some of those behaviors. Like for them, everything had a place and everything was in its place. So if I learned, like my mother would, you could not leave a door open. Like doors had to be shut, closet doors, cabinet doors. And I would say, shut the cabinet door, shut the closet door. And I'll walk behind you and shut doors. I don't care about that. But I learned that
You
behavior
learned
from my
it. Oh
mother.
my gosh.
So some of that could be learned behavior. But the other thing too is that certain things are exacerbated by the experiences that we have. So if you
Hmm.
had trauma in your life, like um, physical, mental, sexual abuse. What in the world?
You okay?
My screen went dead. I'm trying to figure out what happened. What in the
You
world?
said your screen because we see you.
Oh, I'm glad you see me because I don't see anything, and I'm trying to
Oh
figure
wow.
out why I don't see anything. Hold on a sec. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, this is plugged in. My screen is dead. Okay, I don't know. It just went. I think it just went to sleep because it just went
Oh my
completely black.
goodness.
I was like, what? What?
No warning.
Anyway,
No warning.
yeah, no warning. Sorry about that. I've never had it to happen. Maybe because I wasn't touching anything. What was I saying? Oh, I was saying
The
that you
learned
don't.
behavior.
Yeah, it's learned behavior. So some of the traumas that you have, physical, mental, sexual abuse, you can have a domineering parent, or spouse could be domineering. You can have health concerns. If you have chronic pain, it will make you present one way versus another way. Like for me, I'm a sanguine, and I talk, like I said, you call me, I want to talk, and you want to come visit, come on over. But when I'm in a lot of pain, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. Please don't call me. Don't talk to me. You can send me a text, it's cool, but I don't want to talk, right? So
Mhm.
those are some of the things that can shape your personality styles.
Yeah.
So Sharon, if you don't have that, it's probably just one of those characteristics is not, you just don't have,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they tend to be the personality that will get you back. They're very manipulative. They can be very manipulative and vengeful, but they do it quietly. They will
Mm.
get you in the night, during the nighttime. They don't want anybody to know they got you. So anyway, those are some of the things that I think how personalities can have an impact. Sharon, did you want to comment on that at all?
No, I'm just in shock because I'm like, there are days I wish I could, I wish I did kind of go, let me let you know how this feels. I'm not being honest,
But
but
I
I'm
wonder.
always that person that I'm like, it's not worth it. Like I won't put the energy in. Even when I
Yeah.
was dealing with unforgiveness, it was like I wasn't putting the energy in.
Do
I
you
just
think you're do you think you're both introverted personality styles, or you think you an introvert and an extrovert?
So the last time I took the Myers-Briggs, I was an ambivert. I knew that, but I am very much an introvert. So I am after I do training, speaking engagements, teaching, I'm exhausted. So I
Yeah.
get drained from interaction. I'll turn it on and do what I have to do, but I'm drained after. I don't get energy from being around people at all.
So I think you are both the introverted personality styles and melancholy phlegmatic. And the phlegmatic can be social in smaller groups. They prefer smaller groups
One
to
on
be,
one.
but they're very social.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the reason why I said that is because the reason why you can't get in the fight like that is because your phlegmatic doesn't want it. I don't want to smoke. I'd
Nope.
rather deal with what I got to deal with, even if I have to keep it in. I'll do that rather than fight. So you're probably both the introverted personality styles.
Mhm.
So I
Mm.
told you after we get to talking,
I'll take it. I'll take it. But my dog's
figure
more
out
ready
some
to smoke
things.
than I am. Yeah. So
I can figure out some things. Okay, so are there any specific strategies that or practices that you can recommend in cultivating forgiveness in our daily lives?
Mhm. Alicia.
Strategies. Well, one of the things that we talked about is, and I think Sharon said it, is definitely giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
Giving yourself grace, being open to the process,
Mhm.
um, and acknowledging that you're hurt.
Yes.
Mhm.
Definitely is a big one.
Mhm.
I think being intentional about your spiritual growth and development will help you get with the peace that you need to do
Right.
it. One of the things that I always tell people is, don't allow, and I said this earlier, don't allow the unforgiveness to occupy your heart space,
Mm,
because that just it's a cycle
I
of
like that.
daily, anger, you having low self-worth, you're sad, bitter, um, you know, those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And Sharon, do you have anything you want to share on that?
She touched on it. I mean, just be aware. Be
Okay.
aware of what's happening. Hmm.
So I did a
Oh,
little.
one of
Go
my
ahead.
favorite, one of my biggest things, like for daily walking in forgiveness, like actually having acts of forgiveness every day, is don't pick up offenses. And
Mm.
the example I give is, deciding to have an attitude because someone cut in front of you in the line at TJ Maxx.
Yes, ma'am.
Or, wanting to throw up the finger because somebody done cut you off with the road rage. So you
Yes.
can decide, I'm not giving into that, you
Yeah.
know. So those little small things, just decide to let it go
I
because
love
you
it.
don't want those little small things, they pile up,
Build up. Yep.
you know.
Yep.
You this is kind of off topic, but I always talk to moms and wives about, I have what I call a laundry ministry.
Okay.
And so, I could do a load of laundry every day,
Hmm.
every single day. I can pick up somebody's socks off the floor every single day. But I purposed in my heart that I am going to show this as an act of service. Because when you're serving with your heart, you're not really mad about the socks you got to pick up off the floor.
Right. Right.
I call it a laundry ministry. So, people get resentful about that. It's a
Yeah.
day in, day out. That's why I bring it up, because it's something that you do every day. That piles up, and you
Right.
can
Yeah.
harbor resentment, which
I love it.
festers into all these other things. So I
No,
love
I
talking
love
about
that.
laundry
I
ministry.
love that. And one of the things that I also, when I coach my clients, is I talk about if you have been wounded by someone or by, even a situation, but if you've been wounded, like journal what that felt like and be raw with it. You can write a letter to the individual and say, this is how I felt, and let it be raw. Like everything you're feeling and thinking, let it come out on the paper. Then you
Mm,
pray about it and say, okay, Holy Spirit, how do I write this letter to honor you? Right. And then you
mm,
write another version of that letter. And then you ask God, is this, do I send this letter or do I burn this letter? And that helps you to at least work through the process of forgiveness by just first acknowledging it, right?
mhm,
Understanding, that you've been hurt. And sometimes you have to forgive yourself too, because some things happen. And part of you still harboring it is because you haven't forgiven yourself for what you think how you may have participated in it, or how you hadn't addressed it, or how you let it go on, or whatever the case may be. So
mhm.
sometimes forgiveness, some of that forgiveness you have to give to yourself. So
Yeah.
I do this little thing where I kind of look at the personalities in whatever the topic is, right? And now we're going to talk a little bit about overcoming unforgiveness in each of the personalities. So, a forgiving sanguine personality, you could focus on the positive aspects of forgiveness, such as releasing emotional burdens and the opportunity to rebuild your relationships. Now, for a sanguine, we want to have fun. We talked about that. We want to have joy. We want to have peace in our lives. We want to have, be able to move on and not have this stuff harbor. And some of the ways we could do that is to practice mindfulness, like meditate, in order to cultivate that kind of that kind of forgiving spirit, right? In the mornings, I write a gratitude journal, and and sometimes I'll write a letter to God, like this made me mad, or I'm upset about this, or this hurt my feelings, or whatever the case may be. And I write a letter to God. And sometimes I let the Holy Spirit write back to me, so I can write the response. But anyway, a scripture that I picked up for the sanguine is Ephesians 4:32. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ forgave you.
Mhm.
And this particular verse encourages the sanguine personality to embrace their compassionate nature and to extend forgiveness to others as they have been forgiven by God.
Yeah.
So that's the sanguine. Anybody want to talk about that or have anything to say before I move on?
No, this is good.
Okay.
Mhm.
The forgiving choleric personality. The choleric is all about setting goals. So I'm telling the choleric to set specific goals for forgiveness because, you know, Cholerics can be very unforgiving. They'll bring up something from a long time ago too, and beat that dead horse. But take proactive steps to achieve whatever those goals are for forgiveness. So if you have a problem with somebody, you say, okay, how am I going to forgive them? I'm going to journal. I'm going to pray. I'm going to send them a letter. I'm going to have a one-on-one, whatever it is you're going to do, but take proactive steps. Consider the benefits of forgiveness to you. How does that benefit you? It increases your peace. It improves your relationship with others. And remember, I told you, cholerics have little need for friends. So for a choleric to be able to open themselves up to improve relationships, they got to have the desire to do so. I love Colossians, you guys. Colossians 3:13 says, bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you have a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord has forgiven you. So it's a commandment. Like we need to forgive others as we want to be forgiven. And this reminds the choleric that it's important to have patience. We're not that patient. It's a virtue. Hallelujah. We need to be able to forgive, and we need to, and this encourages them to forgive others just as they have received the forgiveness from God. Anybody got anything they want to say on that? Those are for both of them, was for me.
I'll send you your offering in an envelope on Friday.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, so let's talk about the forgiving melancholy personality. You have to allow yourself to process your emotions fully and don't rush. Don't stay there. Like it's you need to process because melancholies process slowly and methodically. And so it's okay for you to do that. And if you need a time to process, take the time to process how you feel and how you can get over your feelings, right? But just don't linger there and stay there forever. Also, reflect on your own imperfections and the mistakes that you have made so that you can develop empathy for other people. For other people, right? Because remember, melancholies can be critical and judgmental. All right. The scripture is in Psalms 103:12. In the NIV, it says, as far as the east is from the west, so far has he removed our transgressions from us. From the east to the west. This verse also speaks to the melancholy personality, assuring you that through God's forgiveness, their sins and mistakes were removed and forgotten. So if God forgave yours and forgot they even existed, who are we not to do that for others, right? And that should offer you some comfort and some hope.
Yeah.
Any comments?
Do the work.
All right, do the work. My friend, Dr. Johnny Parker, he says, it's hard work it's worth the work. Wait a minute. How does he say it's hard work? It's worth the work. It's worth the it's hard work. I don't know. I can't remember. Sorry, Dr. Parker, if you're listening, you'll have to come on and tell us what it really is. You're gonna have them on anyway. Okay, and then the forgiving phlegmatic personality. Take time to understand the root of what is causing your unforgiveness and acknowledge the impact that it's had on your life. So it's okay to do that. I know phlegmatics like things easy and they don't really want to do the hard work. And to do the hard work means they have to live it or relive it. And they don't really want to do that either. They just rather tuck it away. Practice active listening and empathy because you can be very uninvolved and disinterested and I don't want to do it. When interacting with other people, which can foster compassion and understanding. The scripture for the phlegmatic is Matthew 6:14-15. For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their sin, your Father will not forgive you your sins. Who does not want to be forgiven? Right? This scripture emphasizes the importance of forgiveness for the phlegmatic personality. motivating them to extend forgiveness to others and receive God's forgiveness in return.
Wow.
Whew,
Mhm.
hallelujah.
Yes.
Hallelujah. So anyway, I love to do that kind of thing so that people kind of can see the personalities as it relates to the topic we're talking about. So I need to know from you guys, are there any last thoughts or any words of wisdom that you'd like to impart before we end the interview tonight?
I would just say, be encouraged, keep your head up, and just really do the work to realize your worth, because you're worth forgiveness. You're worth going through the process. You don't want to go through this life and not really attain your purpose and destiny that God has for you.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I would really leave with people is that, accept that something has happened. I know a lot of times people move in denial about something. And the first, step in healing is acceptance. And if you can accept it and then start to really say, okay, I want to heal from this, work on your own awareness. If you are the one that maybe offended someone, work on being forgiven. If you're aware, go and ask for forgiveness. If they hold on to it,
Yes.
still walk in peace. You did what you were
Yes.
supposed to do.
Mhm.
Don't allow anything to hold you down. I tell people all the time, it's like TSA. They tell you if you see something in the airport, say something. Don't pick up anybody's bags that don't belong to you. I say that when it comes to boundary setting, do not pick up stuff that doesn't belong to you. So
Yep.
once you have forgiven and you have moved on, don't pick up that baggage anymore. It's not yours.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't pick up offenses.
I love that. I love
Mhm.
both of those. Don't pick up the baggage, don't pick up offenses. Thank
Yep.
you so much. So, ladies, what's coming up on the horizon for either one of you? Or, tell us more because I know you have some books. So tell me a little bit more about what's going on. Alicia, you want to start that?
Yeah. So I really have in my heart that I want to do a children's book about forgiveness. It's in there. I just been working on it. And the other thing is, hopefully my family and I will be publishing a cookbook. Um,
Oh,
and I'm actually participating in a competition right now. And so
oh,
if I actually win, it's a favorite chef competition. So if I win, I will use the proceeds to probably launch that book.
nice. Now, is it like on television or is it like
The
in the?
competition.
Yes.
So if you win, you'll get to go to New York and cook with Carla Hall. She's a celebrity chef.
Girl, I know who Carla
And
Hall is.
then
I am a Food Network.
yeah, and then you'll be featured in the Taste of Home magazine. And
Oh,
then
I
there's a
think that's
monetary gift too. So
yeah. I
I've
think
been
that was
holding
a
on to number one for a while. So I'm
wow.
hoping that
I'm so excited for
it's
you.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so exciting. Actually, I think I remember something coming up and I signed up for it. And I was like, what am I signing up for? And I didn't do anything else with it. So I'm going to look at that and make sure, because we get to vote for you, right?
Yeah, vote. Yep, daily votes.
Okay, I'm going to go in there and
Hmm.
be voting for you, sis.
Thank you.
Matter of
Thank you.
fact,
Thank you.
tell the audience how they can vote for you.
Well, it's in the link in my bio on Instagram. My handle there is Sweet Sations. It's on IG. So if you click the link in the bio, the link to vote is right there.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Sharon. What about you?
So we have a couple of things. So I have a couple of trainings coming up, but the biggest thing that I want to highlight because we are talking about the let go and forgiveness is we have a page. Alicia and I have a Facebook page that we run called the Let Go, and we've kind of not given it much attention, and so we're going to be revamping to talk more about stuff like this, not just forgiveness, but the impact of not forgiving. So please head over to the Let Go page. Join us if you want to speak and share your story. We want to bring back Motivational
I
Mondays.
know. I really want to bring that back.
People want to
Yeah.
be courageous to share their stories. And if you're interested in purchasing any of my materials, SharonJLawrence.com. You will be able to find all of my books on healthy boundaries, self-care. I have gratitude journals. I have a Balance Boldly journal that speaks to health. healthy boundaries, self-care, and relationships. And then my first book was 7 Simple Ways to Shape Your Marriage, which also looks at relationships and forgiveness. So
Oh, I love it. And I'm gonna have to have you
Yeah.
come back and talk about that book when I do another marriage segment. I'm
okay.
actually looking for more people to come on the show, and I've been listening to a lot of different podcasts and some interesting people and their perspectives. And so my show is all about relationships. It's about building healthier, stronger relationships through the understanding of the personality. So I put the personality spin on it, and my guests come with their specialty, like you guys are tonight with forgiveness. So I thank you. Now, is you said SharonJLawrence.com.
Yes.
How people? I thank you
Yeah.
guys.
And I forgot to mention one
Oh,
of the biggest things that came out of writing the Let Go is that God led me to write my memoir.
oh,
So I
nice.
have a memoir too. It's called I Can't Keep Calm. He Gave Me Beauty for Ashes.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Great. And
Yeah.
they can get that from Sweet Sensations as well.
It's on Amazon.
Oh, so on Amazon.
Hmm.
Say it again
Yep.
so people will hear the
I
title.
Can't Keep Calm. He Gave Me Beauty for Ashes.
I love it. I can't keep calm. You gave me beautiful ashes. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining me on Personality Speaking. Before we go, next week's show is going to be me, myself, and I. And I'm going to be talking about the melancholy personality traits. I'm going to drop this little video real quick. Again, thank you all for joining us on Personality Speaking. If you like the content that we're giving you, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you can get the latest videos or come in on the live because we want to hear your comments. We want to know what you want to hear and talk about as it relates to personality and relationships. This show airs weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. And again, thank you for joining Personality Speaking, where the tea is always hot. Good night, everybody.
Good night.